everyone. Thank you for having me. So I am here from UC Merced, and I will be presenting on my journey finishing my degree. A lot of the things that were talked about up here a minute ago really resonated with me. That and a little bit more I want to say. As mentioned, my name is Lilly Uvalle. I graduated from UC Merced with a bachelor's in public health and a minor in in psychology. And I just recently graduated December of 2024. And I became the reentry advisor for the degree completion program, the Department of PACE there at UC Merced. And as a student, I was one of their ambassador for the program, and kind of used me as the face as well to try and reach students that were in my position. And I'll get into that in a little bit. So I'm a Merced native. I grew up in Merced. And I still remember when I was in like 3rd grade that the contest for the mascot of UC Merced was going on. And I really wanted to participate, but I think it was like for the 5th graders, so I didn't get to participate. But that's when I got presented to the idea of like, oh wow, what is a university? What is that? Like, I'm interested in that. So I kind of mentioned it to my parents, and they're like, oh yeah, you'll go to that school. And I was like, yeah, I'll go there. For what? I don't know. I was first generation. I really didn't know what that meant. But I was going to go there nonetheless. And as you could see in the pictures, that was when I graduated from high school, from CVHEC Colony High School in Atwater. And I actually graduated with honors. I applied to UC Merced and I got accepted, thankfully, even though one of my advisors at CVHEC Colony told me that I would never go to college. And I proved him wrong. As a first-generation Mexican-American student, I was the oldest as well in my family. We didn't really understand the process. I didn't really have the help from my parents. I had to navigate it on my own. I did miss some deadlines because I wasn't aware, but I was still excited. I went to UC Merced, as you can see, my freshman year, signing one of the beams for one of the buildings that was being constructed in 2010. And it was going well. It was going really good. My first year, I got good grades, and I made friends. But then little by little, I was confronted with obstacles. I was a student worker. I was a full-time student. I didn't really have guidance. I didn't know to ask for help. I was also dealing with mental health problems that I, at that time, didn't know I was dealing with. And I was experiencing some bullying my freshman year as well. And just a lot. I wasn't sure if I was in the right major. So that was the first time that I stepped away from school. In 2012, I just withdrew. I focused a little bit on my life, and that's when I got married. So I got married pretty young. I was 20. I would have been a sophomore at UC Merced. And 2013 came by. I tried to go back to school. The reentry process was horrendous. There was nothing online that mentioned a reentry process. I really had to contact every department to try and figure it out. Eventually, I did figure it out only because I knew people there from when I was working as a student worker. So I don't know how other students did it, honestly. I went back, I changed my major, and even though that semester went well, I still just wasn't feeling that major. So for the second time, I stepped away from school in 2013. I focused on working full-time for Merced County Human Services Agency, and I ended up having my first baby in 2017. So time went by, and life happened. I was struggling with mental health. I was struggling with my relationship, and just school wasn't in my mind. I did try to go back in 2017 with my newborn because I wanted to finish school for her. And to my surprise, a lot of the professors were really nice. They were like, yeah, you could bring her as long as you don't disrupt the classes. So there I go on campus with my newborn, my stroller, my backpack, my diaper bag, bottles, toys. And it felt really weird because you don't see that. Especially at a New York campus, you just don't see that. It was a lot of 18-year-olds, high schoolers that had just gotten into college. And my baby would start crying in the middle of class, so I would have to step out with tears in my eyes. It was just really hard, again. So for the third time, I stepped away from school. And I continued to just focus on life. I ended up having my second baby in 2019. And then later that year, I finally got diagnosed with my mental health, getting proper treatment, getting the help I needed, and finally feeling like I can be myself. But then COVID happens, and my world falls apart. My biggest support, my dad, passed away due to COVID. And it just really derailed me. Even though I had just gotten the help that I needed with mental health, it just threw me off completely. Even though he was gone, he served as a motivation to pursue my education one last time. He was my guardian angel. And in 2022, it's like he sent me a blessing. The degree completion program at UC Merced reached out to me, and they asked me if I wanted to go back to school. And I was like, what is it, 2022? I started in 2010. Are my units expired? Like, how does that even work? And they're like, nope, you can come back. So then there I go back. At this time, my kids are a little bit bigger. They're both in school, so that gives me a little bit of structure. My mom helps me out with during that time, taking them to school or picking them up. But even then, sometimes when they were on vacations or they just didn't have school that day, I would have to take them to class with me. And you can see them there with Rufus, the bobcat, with the firefighters. And thankfully, the degree completion program offered me a student position there and unconditional support. I actually have one of my biggest supports here with me, Michael Pierrick, the director of the degree completion program. I can say he was a huge part of that support system that I had to try and navigate the system and understand it and complete my degree. And even though I had all that support, some days were really hard. I remember one day taking my girls to class, to one of my psychology classes, and the professor comes up to me and tells me, today's topic is really inappropriate for kids, so you gotta leave. And there I go out of class with tears in my eyes again, just embarrassed more than anything. But this time I really wanted to finish. I really, really wanted to finish. And like I mentioned, I had the support from the degree completion program. I ended up utilizing services there on campus, like the psychological, counseling and psychological services, the student accessibility services. This time I was really reaching out and using any of the resources that were offered to me. And that made the difference. And in 2024, that December, I graduate with my bachelor's degree and a minor. And I walked across that stage, and I looked up, and I see my little girls jumping up and down, just super happy for me. And at this time, even though the pictures look perfect, I was going through a separation with my then husband. And so I just really pushed through, and it was worth it. It was worth it. I had the support of my mom, my siblings. You could see Annette there. She's the dean for PACE, and a family there at UC Merced that I had. So, thank you. Even though I had all the setbacks, the struggles, not understanding the system, I did it. I was able to finish at the end. It took me a really long time, but I did it. And now, as a reentry advisor, I get to sit and help students that are going through similar situations. Sometimes they just need to be heard. Sometimes they need guidance. Sometimes they just need to cry it out. But now I get to be there for them, like Michael was there for me when I was struggling. So yeah, it is possible even if it is hard. And that's my story.